How's it going? I'm Andrew with Investors Hub, and real quick intro, we're going to be talking with Clem Chambers. He's the CEO of ADVFN. He's my boss, and we are going to be talking about NFTs because they saw a recent surge in popularity again, and I wanted to talk to him about NFTs that could exist outside of the realm of digital art. So if you like the video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter, ihub_vision, and after a quick disclaimer, we'll hear from Clem. Please note that our videos are not designed to be direct investing advice. Our channel and our content should just be one stop on the journey of trying to find out where to put your money. So, Clem, in the past, we talked about NFTs. They got super exciting a couple of months ago, and they died down for a little bit. And then in the past couple of weeks, they've sort of re-emerged. And one thing that we discussed was the idea of using NFTs to tie to physical assets that exist in the real world, like things outside of art, like cars and homes. And I thought that that was a really exciting idea. Do you know of any projects that are currently doing that?
Well, there's a load of people trying. Okay. So the point is, how do you tie the physical asset to the blockchain? Now, one way is to somehow sample it, or one way is to always track it. So you got a cow, you shoot it, and you got someone watching it as it gets cut up, and then somebody puts it in a bag, and that person puts a hashtag on it. So now that hashtag it proves where their meat has come from. And as long as nobody takes your eye off the plastic bag, so that someone can nip in and steal it, or nip in and copy it, then you are kind of tracking that asset. But it's not really satisfactory. But a lot of people trying it are trying it with luxury goods, for example. So you might actually put a RFID tag in your Louis Vuitton handbag. So that RFID tag is actually the proof that it's original and where it came from, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, someone could cut it out. There's a wheeze going on now in secondhand clothes shops where people go in and cut the labels out while no one's looking, run off with them, and then obviously sew them into a rubbishy old garment and claim it's Chanel. So that makes it very difficult. You could, for example, put an RFID tag in a cork in a bottle of wine. I mean, I'm looking at a auction going on right there, and there's bottles of wine here for $500, $600, $2,000, $8,000. Well, of course, you could put an RFID tag in that cork. But again, some sneaky person could, once they've drunk the wine, sell the cork. Someone could take the chip out and put it in. So it's quite a difficult thing to do. And locking in that hashtag, locking in that private and public key into a physical object is quite difficult. However, if you've got a central custodian, he said, looking at a 1967 bottle of EChem going for €1,000, €1,000, that's 200 euros a glass. Do you realize that? That's about 40 euros a sip. That's like burning two $20 bills right there. It better be good, huh? Oh, no, it's going for 1,200. It's going for 1,200. Anyway, attaching a bottle of wine like that onto the blockchain is very difficult. However, people will find ways. That's why digital art's really good. Or music, for example, is really good because it starts out being digital. It's much easier to watermark that. And also, it's much easier to track things that are already digital, like money, for example, using NFTs. An NFT, for example, could represent a song. And as a central custodian, so when you play that music, or you use that license, you pay the custodian that uses that hashtag as a index number in the database. So you can know that the money's come in for that and it's gone to that blockchain, it's gone to that NFT and has been paid out because of that NFT's digital rights, which custodian is keeping track of. He's got the digital right, he's got the blockchain, and he's keeping the two together. So there's all sorts of things you can do. Like your house could be an NFT. So the custodian, which would be your land registry in America or in the UK, actually has creates an NFT and enables it to be transferred from one person to the next. It says, yes, click, NFT is now transferred. So there's all sorts of things you can do because basically an NFT is a locked box. and private key unlocks it.
So I suppose NFTs don't really get around the issue of needing a trusted central system that can be assigned to these particular assets. For example, if you wanted to buy yourself a CryptoPunk, you would need to trust the fact that the person who assigned the NFT to your CryptoPunk is in fact the CryptoPunk art house or whatever. So you still do need these trusted authorities.
No, I mean that's not a great example, because CryptoPunk was issued as an NFT by the people at the beginning, and there's a history of that CryptoPunk, and you can't edit that really. It's there. It is. It is either CryptoPunk or it isn't. You can take the image and call it Clem's CryptoPunks. I could copy every single CryptoPunk out there and call it Clem's CryptoPunk, and it would be a CryptoPunk, but it wouldn't be the Lava guy's CryptoPunk, and therefore it would be worth less. I mean, significantly less. So there's all sorts of ways that you can copy things. It's like you can copy the Mona Lisa. It looks the same. In fact, it probably looks better, the copy, because you can get up close to it. You don't have to stand behind a bulletproof window behind a bunch of Chinese tourists with their cameras flashing. But nonetheless, that painting behind that bulletproof glass and behind that crowd of Chinese tourists is actually worth a couple of billion, whereas, you know, a really, really top copy, even one from the 17th century, for example, is worth a tiny percentage of the original. And, you know, it's that ethos that makes these NFTs apparently worth so much. But if you have a method of substantiating the NFT with the item, so, for example, you could digitize the item itself. You take your handbag, you take a set of unique features about it that can't be reproduced. I mean, a microscopic leather texture, for example, which you can digitize, and you can then actually roll that into your NFT. And then you can say, well, you know, it's if I put this under the magnifying glass or I put this under an electron microscope, I get this signature, which then proves that this is the thing that the NFT chip inside it has got. And then there will be new ways of doing this, and there are a few old ways of which it's been done. But what's holding it back for NFTs to actually represent, substantiate physical things, is the proof that the two are intrinsically linked together, which you can do with digital stuff, much harder to do with atoms and binary.
So you use the example of a Louis Vuitton handbag, right? Would there be a way that you could integrate like a QR code that's assigned to the NFT hash that would be built into the fabric of the handbag?
Well, you'd have to build it into the fabric, and then you'd have to be able to stop people taking a photograph. You'd have to stop people taking a photograph of that fabric pattern and building it into a different one. There has to be something equivalent between the bag and the QR code itself. Yeah. So, you know, it's like there has to be a unbreakable, unforgeable link between one and the other. Otherwise, just like the label for Chanel, you could cut the label out. Now, of course, the classic way of protecting this stuff is by actually having a connoisseur. So, you know, the connoisseur looks at the jacket and goes, that's never done by Chanel. No way is that a Louis Vuitton bag. Look at the quality of that gold plating. That's rubbish, that is. That's a fake. So it's, you know, it's the neural network of a human being that says whether it's cool and groovy or not. Well, what you're trying to get rid of is the fallibility of that human being. I mean, there's all sorts of experts, so-called, that give you a certificate of authentication for a load of fakes. There's a whole industry of people that do that. Oh, I'm a professor from Bumbo University in antiquities, and I'm telling you this glass, which was made yesterday, is Roman. I mean, I've got a small collection of Roman glass, and, you know, one time in 3, the patina washes off. You know, I mean, literally, you just put it in water, go shh, and you just put it in water and swill it around, and Bob's your uncle, your patina's gone because it's sprayed on. Yeah. So, but, you know, there's a certificate of authenticity from somebody, but how authentic is the certificate of authenticity even?
You would have to, going back to the Louis Vuitton example, you'd have to trust that Louis Vuitton was keeping track of its lot numbers, right? So you'd make 1,000 handbags, and that this is handbag 1 through 1,000 of this particular lot number, and then you could use the Ethereum blockchain to trace the path of that particular handbag. So if you were, for example, buying handbag number 7 of lot, 10, then if it was not in the place that it's supposed to be with the person that it's supposed to be, then that's a huge red flag, right?
Well, red flags are one thing, but honest governor, it's real. Yeah, Picasso gave this to me a week before he died. Yeah. I mean, you see all sorts of collectibles show up that have clearly been stolen. Yeah. And then magically get found. Oh, yeah, well, we found this on a rubbish tip. Yeah, right. After you broke into the house and took it off the wall. Yeah. I mean, the number of, there was a piece of ancient furniture found dumped in a skip in a car park in the UK 5 days ago. It just happened to be worth £30,000. And the person that saw a bit of old rubbish said, oh, that's obviously a highly valuable Elizabethan bed. I better take it out of the skip. No, it's stolen, wasn't it? Oh, I found a warehouse full of cars. They've been there for 30 years. Yeah, well, right.
At the very least, if you have that sort of transaction chain, then you have more evidence to suggest that this valuable product has been stolen. And so
more evidence. I like that. But it's not the same as absolutely knowing it's real or not. Now, obviously, you can't, put a Roman glass tumbler on the blockchain. Well, you might actually be able to do that. In fact, the company I'm CEO of, which is a blockchain company, has got a few ideas about that. A way of actually putting something like a Bronze Age axe head on the blockchain, because there are potentially ways, and will be many other ways, where you can basically get a digital signature, which will then cross-identify things. So digital signatures can be the NFTs, but you've got to find a way of making the digital signature.
Yeah, you might be able to 3D scan the object and like take dimensions and color and things like that. But then
I'll steal that idea.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I have. It's my idea is to digitize the 3D shape of an item and then turn it into a hash, which is then turned into an NFT. That's a great idea I had. Nobel Prize, right? Coming up.
So what happens though if your 3D object, what happens if the original object gets chipped or damaged in some way? That'll dramatically change the hash. That's why hashes work.
Dramatically change the price right there.
Well, it'll still be, though, that same Roman glass cup with, your little nick missing in the side.
Look, I've got a Ming vase. Well, actually, I haven't, but I wish I did. If I had a Ming vase that hadn't got a hole drilled in it, it's worth a lot more than a Ming vase that doesn't have a hole drilled. Sorry. A Ming vase that has a hole drilled in it is worth a lot less than a Ming vase that doesn't have a hole in it. Now, you're laughing at me because you go, who would drill a hole in a Ming vase? Well, I'll tell you, a lot of people in 1920 when they wanted to fix an electric light to it.
Yeah, people of the world.
And they took all their Ming vases, which obviously got looted from China during the Boxer Rebellion, etc., and drilled holes in them and turned them into lampshades. So they went from being worth 1.5 million today to being worth 15 grand or whatever they're worth today. I haven't looked at it. It was in the 70s when I was, very young, that I learned about the Ming vase and the fact that everybody thinks they've got £1 million Ming vase because Ming vases were selling for a million or two in the 70s. So that was the reason
why they're worth $1 million is because there's so many damn Ming vases that have holes in them. Right? You should be thanking the people that have been drilling holes in Ming vases to all the people who haven't.
If I had $1 million Ming vase, I would be thanking them copiously. But, a damaged item is worth a lot less than a not damaged item. A coin that's worn might be worth, a really rare one might be worth $1,000. If it's not worn, it might be worth $100,000. Yeah. So, the condition on all these things are important. But take your Ming vase without the hole and digitize shapes of various parts of it, which you then register, and then you then hash up. Well, then it doesn't matter that the top corner's chipped off, because you've got 4 or 5 different scans, and the fact that one's got a flaky bit that's fallen off it and ruined the hash doesn't mean the other 3 don't intersect. And all that, because I like your idea. I'm going to steal. Oh no, I've stolen it already. It's my idea. Why are you stealing? That was my idea.
Right, and as long as you could also have your individual hashes that are made, but you of the scanned pieces, but you also could have maybe a master scan of a fat bit of the vase that should that fat bit of the vase be compromised, then the whole thing would shatter. Right. It's,
exactly.
It's kind of like the QR code in the fabric of the Louis Vuitton bag. Well, sort of, not really, but
you can damage stuff. All sorts of ways you can damage stuff. You could scratch it. You could, the classic way that you ruin art is the cleaning lady gets her feather duster out and starts knocking the dust off it, and starts scratching it with the feathers on the end of a duster. It's going to be different then. It might not be worth less or more because you might be able to restore it, but stuff gets damaged. But if you take multiple samples, those are very good as evidence for those sort of things. And it's a great idea I had, and that would be certainly a good way. But it's not going to work for your stake, is it? Yeah, because by definition the stake is going to be changing all the time. So certain things like hard objects, for example, I mean, you've got something going there with shape. Yeah, but not all shapes are going to be conducive for that, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And then you've got to have a reader so that you can go, I got my Ming vase and I stuck it under my mobile phone, and my mobile phone had a look at it and said, yeah, this is the same one, because it could scan it properly, or maybe it can't scan it properly, or maybe it might scan it and do it wrong. But there's 2 sides. There's the encoding and then there's the decoding. But anyway, this is not a technical blog, is it?
Yeah, I figured we might go down the rabbit hole. It's an interesting train of thought. It's related to our initial topic.
There's a rabbit at the bottom.
Yeah, it's hopefully that rabbit can manifest into a new and exciting way of categorizing solid objects in the NFT space. And
now we're manifesting rabbits, are we? Sounds like an advert for the Matrix Resurrection.